Welcome to the Danbury Dems. My name is John Gogliettino. I'm your host. With us today, we got Bill McAllister, who's a councilman in the 4th Ward today, and he's going to be going over this, what's going on in the 4th Ward, and we're going to do like a general report on everything else that's happened this first part of the year. So without further ado, let's bring Bill on, and he'll do a little bit of a self-report about what led him to going for council. He's been active in the community in a number of ways, and so without any further hold up, you know what you want to say there, Bill.
Good, John. Good morning.
Good morning.
John, thank you for all the work you did to set this up today. I very much appreciate it. And
You're welcome.
And you did a very professional job. And I'm going to say that you did a professional job because of the excellent education you and I had at St. Peter's School. So
thank you.
And thank God we did. So give you a little background. I was my father's family has been here in Danbury since the late 1830s, obviously coming over from Ireland during the initial stages of the potato famine there, which initiated the late 1830s into the 1840s. And they settled in Danbury. And some of them broke off. One went to New Milford, one went to Norwalk, and then subsequently came back to Danbury. My family on my father's side was active in local business. They were all into their own businesses. I had a great uncle that was a shoemaker, and then my great uncle Charlie opened up a tavern on White Street, and it was the C.H. McAllister Tavern, and it was very successful, and it was in business for a long time. It was in the area of Ives Street and White Street. What happened then was the family expanded, and being the fine Irish family they were, they expanded very rapidly, and there was a lot of relatives. So what happened after that is I think I'll roll right into my background in terms of emergency services. My Uncle Charlie joined the first volunteer fire company in the city of Danbury. It's called Humane Hose Company, Humane. And I have a picture of Charlie in one of their annual photos, which is normally taken on Memorial Day, of Charlie standing there at age 18 with the rest of the members of the fire company. So our involvement in the emergency services and in public service in the city of Danbury is documented back to at least 1880. And that's a long time ago. So I'll give you a little bit of background on myself, and we'll
I wanted to bring up a point. You were involved with emergency services back then, and today they got 911 system and the 311 system, and 911 if there's an emergency, but the 311 is the information system. Is that correct?
Yeah, John. If you need any assistance with anything in the community that is outside your normal realm, you would call there. You would be directed to the necessary agency to provide services. And it's John, I have to say it's a very successful program, and I would
Okay.
strongly recommend that people take advantage of it in their time of need. It is not an emergency number. I want to emphasize that. If you have an emergency, you dial 911 and you will get all the help that you need immediately. 311 is a city assistance program for the different services the city provides outside of the emergency services. So I just want to clarify that. Okay.
Okay. All right.
So, educationally, as I said earlier, John, started St. Peter's, went all through St. Peter's School, went out to Immaculate High School, graduated from Immaculate High School. I got my bachelor's degree from Iona College in New Rochelle. My major was political science. After that, I went on and got a second degree in fire protection technology from, at the time, it was Waterbury State Tech. It's now Mattatuck Community College. And then I have dabbled with my master's degree many times, and I have not completed it. And that is still a goal in my life, even at this late
It's
stage.
a it's a work in progress.
It's a work in progress, John. Actually, a lot of the reason was I didn't have enough money to do it, so whatever. So that's my educational background and a little bit of my family.
So tell us a little bit about the fourth ward where you serve.
John, there's no better place on the planet than to be from the fourth ward in Danbury. Let me tell you. The fourth ward historically was, I guess, what you could say was the Irish ghetto. It's where the Irish immigrants settled. And it has a very, very, very strong history in the city of Danbury. As most people know, the original part of Danbury was the South End. And that goes all the way back when it was called Swampfield. And, we had the Swampfield Social Revival program at the Amber Room last Saturday, put on by the Danbury Historical Museum. And it was unbelievably good. It was a great time. It lasted almost 3 hours. And it focused on a lot of items that took place in early Danbury. And as we know, that the original parts of Danbury were in the South End. So the fourth ward in Danbury really has been the rock on which the city was built. And again, as I said earlier, it was really where most of the Irish immigrants lived. And there was a reason for that. It's where a lot of the manufacturing was taking place, not only in the South End, but, in the area at the Town Hill, down there into the where the rail yards are now there,
Right.
Accio, East Liberty, in there, all good fourth ward territory there, where a lot of the factories were built because the railroad was there, John, and the river was there. So they had all the resources to be successful with manufacturing. So,
Right.
and then as time has gone on, because of the fact that there were many jobs, the building of many houses, apartment buildings, and then subsequently condominiums. We are definitely the condominium capital of Danbury in the fourth ward. It has taken place. So we have a very, very dense population in the fourth ward and everything that goes along with that. We have a lot of schools down here. We have a lot of not only industry, retail, manufacturing, the expansion over the years. I mean, look at like the Berkshire Shopping Center, all the factories down in Shelter Rock, along South Street, etc. Really emphasizes what the fourth ward is made up of. And
What's
go ahead.
what's the polling place? Is it still the school?
Yes, it is. Yes,
Yeah.
we're still up at Shelter Rock, John.
Shelter Rock. Yeah,
Yeah.
because there might be some new people in town, and that way you let them know that's where the polling place is.
Yes.
Okay.
And
And
just to emphasize that, as you know, for years, the polling place was the South Street School for the fourth ward. Then obviously that wasn't feasible, so they moved it up to Shelter Rock. But I just want to say that I had an aunt, one of my father's many sisters, who worked as a registrar at the South Street School, fourth ward, for all the votes in Danbury for 55 years. So, we were kind of entrenched then. So go ahead.
so, have there been any accomplishments in the fourth ward that you want to report about? because I was going to run down some other things that you helped create during this past year and a half. But there might be some things you might want to mention that you specifically worked on, and let's say got a light put in over here or over there, that kind of thing.
Yeah, John. I think the biggest thing is an item that's pending right now. Is most people who drive down South Street now notice that there's been a lot of construction in the area where Bezade Appliances is there, uh, where Grandpa's Diner is right on the corner of Town Hill, and
Correct.
that's in preparation, John, for a very large reconstruction of the Triangle South Street Colpit Hill intersection. That is a very, very large project. It should be starting any time now. It was originally going to be a couple of months ago. They're going to reconfigure that whole intersection. Long overdue. It's always been a dangerous intersection, especially with the volume of traffic that has gone through there over the years. It's the main corridor to get into Bethel. It's the main corridor to get down into Shelter Rock for all the jobs that are down there. And then obviously to get into all the condominiums and apartments that exist in that neighborhood. So it's going to make it much more fluid. They're going to widen out the intersection, add additional lanes to it, and make it a lot easier to drive through that neighborhood and get back to your homes at night. So I'm looking forward to it, but I'm going to emphasize here, there's going to be inconveniences for a while they do the construction, but the outcome will be positive. The little park on the corner there, and a lot of people don't know, it's called Rochambeau Park. And after our Revolutionary War hero in general, that park will be reduced in size. It will not be eliminated. It'll just be a little bit smaller to add room for the additional traffic lanes that will be built down there. John, this is a massive project and very expensive, funded by the state of Connecticut. Okay.
Oh, okay. I was going to say that come out of the bond issue that was passed.
No, this
The
is
bond issue, the
that's a
bond
state road.
issue, yeah, the bond issue was for the firehouse and a few other things. The
Correct.
additional road construction. Okay. I started talking about roads, so I'll go on roads. What do you want to say about the roads? I know it's like 15 miles per year, or maybe a little more that they're now being put in. In other words, every year that goes by, another 15 miles or so get done. Has there any significant roads have been redone in the fourth?
John, I'm glad you brought that up. First of all, I have to thank the mayor for putting together that program on the road paving. As you said, that the goal of 15 miles a year is a lofty goal, and he's met that goal, and will continue to do so. So you're going to see a lot of the roads in Danbury with improved drainage, storm drainage, as well as paving. And I'm going to point out to another one, which borders the Fourth Ward, is the intersection of Locust Avenue, White Street, and Wildman Street. I served on that ad hoc committee recently, and the expansion of that intersection, just like South Street, Copper Hill, Triangle Street, will improve the flow of traffic. There will be more lanes of traffic. It'll be easier to make turns, whether you're going up Locust Avenue, down Wildman Street, continuing straight on White Street. All that will definitely improve the flow of traffic. And so those two projects right there. But John, I'm glad you pointed out that program. The lower part of Main Street, and let's just say basically from West Street south, that streetscape program that we received funding for, and they've taken down some of the trees because they were just absolutely destroying the sidewalks, and they were interfering with the underground infrastructure, gas, water, things like that, and they had to be taken out, and they're going to get replanted. I don't want anybody to think that you won't have trees on Main Street. That's coming, but the drainage on Lower Main Street, especially in the area of Worcester Street, has been a disaster for years, and that was addressed thank God, through some very aggressive work, diverting the water down there to the end of Park Place into the piping that then subsequently goes down like through the back of Price Right and down into Rogers Park, through those streams and into the pond, and then subsequently out, Simplot Brook into Still River, and then, eventually Still River to the Housatonic into Long Island Sound. So that that lower Main Street work is in progress. And if you drive down Main Street, you could see it. And it's going to coincide with a lot of the development in that lower part of Main Street. As you saw, uh, the city of Danbury received the courthouse at no cost, John. We got the courthouse. What a score that was. Originally state wanted money for it, and through the efforts of the mayor and our state delegation from Danbury, we were able to secure that for free. And
Yeah.
John, what that will do for that neighborhood is just incredible. Um, Jimmy Maloney, our former congressman, who runs CFIC, the Connecticut Institute for Communities, and has done an unbelievable, great service to the city of Danbury. I cannot tell you what he has done to help me many times with a lot of the challenges I had with the children at St. Peter's School, which is really, my focus in life. And
Yeah.
you know, Jimmy's putting in that large apartment building behind his Main Street, Fountain Street location to serve our elderly, providing affordable elderly housing, which is definitely a concern. And
There's definitely a need for that. Yeah.
oh, John, beyond description, beyond comprehension, getting our elderly into affordable, good, solid housing with nearby support services is the way we need to go. So while we're on that subject, also remember that improvement with the Lower Main Street streetscape program, drainage, etc., will be the expansion of those buildings opposite Price Right. That large four-story low-rise building there will be expanded into apartments. There'll be additions on the back, which include additional apartments and parking garages. So additional housing, which we desperately need, and affordable additional housing. As Congressman Maloney often said, workforce housing, providing housing for our basic workers, our blue collar workers that need affordable housing is a priority, and it's getting addressed. And of course, there's a lot of it's getting addressed in the South End, which I have no problem with.
Well,
Like,
you've got all those condos. You got to
oh yeah,
the people are there, and you got to service the people.
right,
I wanted to hit a few other things, and
sure,
the time is okay. We still have a little bit of time. Um,
okay,
and that is the police. For years, we held the police numbers down. We didn't hold it down. The other party did.
okay,
Democrats always advocated putting more police on, and we've got like about a dozen more police officers on the force now. But have more to beef up the patrols, so any trouble spots are spotted easier. And then I mentioned the fire department putting in another firehouse on the other end of town, which is less an issue for the Fourth Ward, but it's just a report that another thing that we've done, meaning the Democratic Party and Mayor Elves. And then the high school is going to be opening in September. We've got a West Side high School to relieve the pressure that we had on the original Danbury High School. We had way too many people. I believe it was in the neighborhood of 3,500. So we're going to take about 1,500 of those people and move them over to the West Side, and also have the Board of Education offices in the same building. So that takes a lot of pressure off other things that we had.
okay,
Uh, and we mentioned the emergency services, and Was there something else that you'd like to mention in our time? First of all, maybe you can tell us if people, now that you've given your report somewhat, if they want to get a hold of you, what telephone number and what email should they contact you on?
Okay, John. Well, first of all, I'll give you my phone number, 860-309-4486. Okay. And
Okay.
then my personal email is twmcal@yahoo.com. twmcal@yahoo.com. John, I would just like to comment on two of the things that you just brought up. Let's start with the
Okay.
police. Let's start with the police department. All right. John, as you know, and many people know, my family is split pretty evenly between the fire and the police departments, both career and volunteer. And my son is currently the police chief in the city of Naugatuck. Was one of, if not the youngest police chiefs ever appointed in the state. And I'm very proud of him for that. He has a very, very progressive operation there, and in an environment which is very challenging. As you know, I worked as a career firefighter in the city of Waterbury for quite a few years. I was a lieutenant there, and I know what that greater Waterbury area can do in terms of public safety challenges. So I give him a lot of credit for that. And by the way, John, yesterday was his birthday. Happy birthday, Colin. So, the other thing is education. John, if there's really anything in my life that I'm focused on, it's education. And as you know, I served as chairman of the Catholic School Advisory Board for about 5.5 years, focusing on really trying to keep our Catholic schools viable and open, particularly St. Peter's School. And we were successful. We did it. We kept them open. And we have a very viable Catholic school program here in the city of Danbury. And I think it's going to stay that way for a long time. Between the 3 grammar schools and the Immaculate High School, we're around 1,200 students. So let's roll right into Danbury High School. The number of students there, John, was much closer to 4,000. And the number of students going out to the west side will be in the area of 1,700. And it should open up in a couple of weeks. So they'll get prepared prior to the the end of August opening of the school system. And yes, it's going to provide a huge change in relief to the high school students. It's going to provide a much more welcoming environment and a much better educational environment, which is ultimately our goal. We have a new superintendent of the schools. She's top shelf. We are so lucky to have her. What that woman has done in the last couple of years, I can't say enough good things about her. And she's moving our school system into the year 2025, and that's where we need to be, and into the future in a good way,
as opposed to the last century.
yeah, right. You're not kidding. So when you say that, even though that new firehouse and the high school is going out to the west side, ultimately everything that takes place in Danbury, regardless of what ward it's in, affects the rest of the city. So
Right.
whatever happens out there is going to be a positive for the 4th ward or the 6th ward or 7th ward, etc.
Also, you were supportive in a lot of the stuff he's done. Mayor Elves has done. Last year, he got us $12 million additional funds in our budget. And this year, he got $13 additional million to help the school opening and other things. And do you have anything you'd like to say about I know that parks have been improved and the ball fields have been improved. And I think that goes a long way with kids and keeping, and keeping kids out of trouble, because once they do their homework, they tend to look for things to do. And if you have the activities at the parks, and you have teams they can play, baseball and various. Go ahead.
Oh, John, I'm glad you brought that up. And
Yeah.
John, you know, I am a child of Rogers Park and the Danbury War Memorial. I lived there my whole life. I grew up on Fairfield Avenue, and you know, I only had to go up and down Harrison Street to get to Rogers Park. And I played a lot of ball there. I spent a lot of time there. The War Memorial, same thing. And by the way, just to let everybody know, this coming year is the 75th anniversary of the Danbury War Memorial. And I'm on the board down there, and we plan to have some celebrations. And I hope everybody will support that. What that War Memorial has done for the children and the adults in the city of Danbury over the last 75 years, I don't think anybody ever had a negative encounter with that building. Between the gym and the program, the after school programs for many years, it just was unbelievable. And it used to cost us 25 cents, you know, like for an arts and crafts when I was a kid. It was a great program. The old bowling alleys, and now that gymnasium downstairs in the War Memorial is second to none. You can work out in that gym, then go right out the side door and jog in Rogers Park, and know that, John, number one, you are in a safe environment. You know, you have nothing to worry about. I walk the Fourth Ward all the time. And most of my walking I do in Rogers Park, and most of it, John, I do at night. And I have never doubted my safety. You know, I see the police department down there; it's good. But I think the biggest thing, John, is the work that's being done in our park system. You know, the Terrywell Park, the acquisition of the Happy Trails, you know, Prabilski's property down there, and I thank the Prabilski family for offering that property to the city of Danbury. And I think our goal ultimately, and Andrea Gardner, our Fifth Ward councilwoman, her work on the Norwalk Trail program that she chairs will hopefully tie in all of those parks in that section of town right there on the Fourth Ward, Fifth Ward line with the Norwalk Trail program. And then on the west side, John, that trail that goes from the Danbury Brewster line right there where Sawmill comes out,
Right.
goes all the way over to Peekskill. And if you have ever had the opportunity to walk that or ride your bike over there, it's superb. And we are going to tie into that. And that will go right through the center of Danbury, and it will hook up to our parks eventually. So when we talk about our parks, John, you know, you and I grew up down the South End. You know,
Yeah.
Rogers Park is a gem, and it's packed day and night, and it's well used and well maintained.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on the show, but believe it or not, we're almost out of time. So
Okay.
they're giving me the high sign to move along. So I want to thank you for coming on, and I want to thank the viewers for tuning in to Danbury Dems, and we'll see you next week, same time, same station.
Thank you, John.
Take
God
care
bless
now.
everybody. Take care.
All right.
Okay.